I'm Darrell White, a partner at Kimura London White.
I'm Josh Kimura, also a partner at Kimura London White.
And we're here today to talk to you about construction defect cases. So you may have had a property that you're remodeling here in Newport Beach or by the coast in Orange County. You may have a commercial building that's undergoing renovations, or you purchased and you have a lot of questions now because there's some problems at the properties. So let's start out with Josh. What does a construction defect case typically look like?
A construction defect case is generally when a house or a piece of property is not performing to standard, meaning you've got roof leaks, you have issues with regards to the performance of the building, and when those building components are failing, generally you have a construction defect case.
Okay, so why don't we go through a practical example here. This is a case that just came in the door in the last year. You have a client who lives in the coastal Orange County area. They have a beautiful beachfront property on the sand. So what were some of their issues?
They had just done a beautiful remodel right there on the coast, and when the first rains hit, they had water leaks. So they woke up one morning after it rained, and there was water all throughout their living room, and the water had basically just come right through the roof, straight to their house.
Okay, and so what were some of the first steps that you walked the client through when the client retained you?
Well, you always want to document everything. That's actually the most important thing, is that you want to get your camera out, take pictures, take videos. You want to document the evidence. The second thing is you certainly want to get an expert. So in the construction defect industry, it's expert driven, and you want to get either another contractor or a construction defect expert to come out and also document the damages. Then you need to call counsel.
That's perfect. Thank you for that. And what are the sort of damages when you're talking through this with this client or others? They've had roof leaks. It's going to require some extensive repairs and construction. So what are the damages? What's the client looking at?
General damages that you can get for a construction defect case are, property damage. So the cost of repair. That's generally the main driving component. There's also loss of use. If you're unable to use your commercial property, your home, that's also part of your damages when it comes to construction defect. You could also potentially recover your costs in having to go after the contractor with regards to the construction defect that you've experienced. And depending upon the contract, you may also be able to recover your attorney's fees.
And what's the timeline on something like this? I know that's a common question every client's wondering.
Yeah, I would say construction defect definitely isn't one of the speedier types of litigations that we have in California. And the reason why is because there are multiple parties. You generally have a general contractor. However, the general contractor is the one who usually didn't do much of the work. And there are other subcontractors who probably performed the work that caused the defect. You also have design professionals that may be involved. And because they're multi-party cases, you've got lots of parties, lots of lawyers. So I would say on average, a construction defect case can take anywhere from 2 to 3 years to resolve.
Wow, 2 to 3 years. And in general, how does insurance play into this picture?
Insurance is generally the driving factor with regards to these cases. So when a homeowner brings a construction defect claim against a contractor, as long as they have insurance, their insurance generally is going to defend them. And that's kind of who funds these settlements.
Okay, and then what about the subcontractors? Do they typically have insurance too?
They do. They generally do. But obviously, depending on how big the trade is, sometimes they don't, depending on who the general contractor used. So it's really important, really as a precursor when you're doing construction, to have good contracts, especially as a homeowner. In fact, before you even go through a giant remodel project, or if you're a commercial owner, before you're going through a huge project, you really want to make sure to have counsel look at your contracts, because those contracts are going to be the governing documents as to how you have any kind of remedy when it comes to construction defect claim.
That's great. And that reminds me of a commercial case that we had. A client had just built a medical office building in North Orange County. They had developed it from a dirt lot into a beautiful medical office building. And once they moved a tenant on one side of the building in, they discovered that there was water intrusion coming up. You remember this case. Water intrusion coming up through the soil, through the concrete slab, and into the flooring. and it was emulsifying all of the flooring, and the tile was peeling, and the different flooring materials were peeling and coming up. And so that was a case where the client called us, retained us, and it was a long multi-year battle and fight with ultimately the general contractor and many other trades and their respective insurance carriers, but we were able to deliver a tremendous result to the client, made them whole, had the repairs done, and they were thrilled. So this is also something to look at for everyone out there who's managing asset managers or commercial portfolios where you've done extensive remodeling work and now you have issues, or you've acquired a property that's brand new and now you're seeing issues. Something to keep in mind too is the statutes of limitations for these things. So how long do you have to bring a case from when you discover the issue, Josh?
I mean, generally speaking, in California, you have a 10-year statute of limitations. However, there are also certain defects that only have a 4-year statute of limitations. So it's important to get to counsel right away if you believe you've got a construction defect case.
Absolutely, absolutely. So thanks so much for tuning in. You can always visit and find more information at klw-law.com. Again, I'm Darrell White.
I'm Josh Kimura.
And we're always here for you. So thanks so much. Have a great day.